Hey, Dustin Tibbetts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. Got a quick one here for you today, and I hope while we teach you this, you'll keep us in mind. Go to jazzwealth.com if you're thinking about opening or transferring your retirement accounts, long-term investment accounts to somewhere that may want to help you and actually does educational classes and reaches out to you once a week just to kind of let you know how things are going and teach you some new things in our classes. Well, I hope you'll keep us in mind at jazzwealth.com. Enough marketing. Let's get started here. I sort of use these videos. I do them a lot, actually. You could go on our channel and you could type in like 4 Roth IRA investing mistakes, 4 IRA investing mistakes, things like that. It seems like I do them a lot, but in reality, I use them as current events, right? We do a lot of calls here. A lot of people call and just ask general questions about how we may be a good fit, and I learn from that, whether we're a good fit or whether I have to point them in another direction. You learn a lot about little mistakes people are making. I want to share 4 more of them with you here today. The first IRA investing mistake that I'm starting to see a lot is that people are using IRAs, right? As simple as that. There is a traditional IRA, which means you put money in, you get a tax deduction, which makes the money pre-tax by default there. And then when you get to retirement, you take your money out, plus the growth and everything, and you pay taxes then. So by using a traditional IRA, we call that a pre-tax account. There's a Roth IRA, which is called a post-tax account, meaning you put money in that's already been taxed. It doesn't mean that you put money in and then at some point you pay a tax bill. That comes up. But it means you put money in the Roth IRA from money that's already been taxed. You get to retirement and your money, plus the growth, all the investment growth there over the time, doesn't get taxed. Well, I find that a lot of people, they sort of lazily find their way into a traditional IRA. And that may be fine for some people. If you're young, I always suggest the Roth IRA if you're eligible for it. The only younger people that should be investing in using a traditional IRA would be if you're single, you have no 401k available to you at work, you make a ton of money, right? I'm talking north of 150, right? So you make that good money as a single individual with no 401k available to you at work, or maybe you're married, you file jointly, you have no 401k available to you at work, and your modified adjusted gross income, which is sort of the bottom line tax number, your adjusted gross income, but add back student loans and interest and things like that. Your modified adjusted gross income is, let's say, 190, something just under 190. So you make a lot as a family, but you're not making much more than that. Those are really the only 2 times I can find that it makes sense for younger people to invest in a traditional IRA. So that's the first mistake. I want you to consider the Roth. Why the Roth? Let me just explain that real quick. If you're younger, there's a chance that something bad is going to happen to you. I'm 37 and exactly 3 bad things have happened to me where I go, oh boy, went through emergency funds, didn't expect that to happen, don't want to borrow money, don't want to ask family for money, and so I guess I'm going to have to take some money from a Roth IRA, right? That happens. These things happen over time. In a Roth IRA, you can do that. Nobody's going to penalize you. Once a month or something, one of my customers will say, you'll never guess what happened, right? They'd send me a long email. I feel bad for them, but realistically, they need their money out of the Roth, and it's my job to make sure they get it without paying a penalty or taxes. That's the main reason there. If you're a little bit older, let's just say you're getting closer to retirement. What if you want to retire early? If you use a traditional IRA, you may not have that option. If you use a Roth IRA, you can just start taking money out. It's your money. You can start taking it out. So whether you're really young or getting close to retirement, you actually need that flexibility. I see it more times than not. Hopefully, everything goes well. You don't need the money. You can let it grow until retirement. But it's nice to have that flexibility because you know what happens. If you need the money, you're down. Something bad has happened to you. Why do you need to get kicked while you're down by paying a 10% penalty or some ridiculous tax? Okay, the number 2 investing mistake I see in IRAs is people that actually go to banks to do them. Now, this is fair. You work at a bank or you work with your bank, you're used to going there or whatever, and you think, hey, I see the sign that says I can open an IRA with you, I just want to do it. Be careful with banks because they are trying, I've said this numerous times, their job is to show you that they are very stable, that they are very trustworthy, that they will be a good, safe guardian of your assets. And the only way that they can do that with investments is to actually use very conservative investments. And not all the time, but you do find most of the time banks will choose really conservative investments, either products that they have and that they sell so they make a little money, or because they can't be seen as swinging for the fences. And so if you're in your 20s and 30s and you go into a bank and open an IRA, go look at the performance. Look and see how it's done. If you're making 2, 3, 4%, that's not good. You are missing out on real growth while you're young. So I see that a lot. I just want you to, I'm not bad-mouthing banks. I'm just saying they're doing what they're supposed to do, but is it really best for you? You may want to look online, Jazz, or look at some other company. It's fine. I'm not, look whoever makes you feel good. But you do want to make sure you're investing for your particular goal, not whatever product somebody wants to put you in. Number 3 mistake I see people make, and I don't know where this is coming from lately, but I'm going to pick on you guys. A lot of people, lazy. I'm getting a ton of calls. I should charge like $50 and donate the money to Drum Corps for reviewing and suggesting investments and then just sending you on your way. If I were legally allowed to do, I don't know if I can do that actually, but there's so many people that have been asking, hey, I have this IRA and I opened it at a brokerage firm and I don't know what to pick. Pick something for me. And I'm like, I'm not allowed to. I can't do that. So of course, if you're one of our customers, I can do that for you. But here's the thing. I'm finding a lot of people are pretty lazy. Take a moment. Dig in there. See what you need to invest in. It's not easy, right? In your 401k, you get a list. It's kind of like when you were in high school. You got a schedule. It told you where to go and what time to be there. And you're like, okay, that's the first period. When the bell rings, whoop, I'm supposed to go to the next one. All I had to do was find a class. When you get to college, you're basically choosing a schedule. And if you don't show up, they're still going to keep your money. So that's kind of like the IRA. A 401k, most people look at it and they're like, whatever, just growth. It says growth, or I want to be conservative, or money market, or whatever. At least you had a list to choose from. In an IRA, you can pretty much pick anything you want to put in there. And I find a lot of people get really lazy and they just sort of pick something and then they wonder what's going on. Or even better, they don't pick anything. They open it up and then they go, I just thought it was going to grow. I didn't know I had to pick an investment. I don't know what to do. So get the help there. If you're at a brokerage firm, this is not like a marketing pitch to get you to transfer your account. I hope you keep that, of course, us in mind. That's what I'm here for. But just simply call the brokerage firm and say, hey, I have an IRA. I didn't know I was supposed to invest it, or I don't even know what to pick. Can you guys send me a list? Most likely what they'll do is send you a list of commission-free ETFs. But at least you get a list. And if you're really, really not into it, just look at the list and see if something jumps out to you that makes you feel aggressive or makes you feel conservative, right? Maybe that'll help a little bit there. All right, we'll wrap this thing up. The 4th thing I see is people stress way too much about saving too much money. I get it. Right now, mostly things are good. A lot of people have good jobs. They're making good money. They're trying to save a little bit more. They're catching up on their finances. Awesome. I get it. But a lot of people stress too much that they're not saving enough, right? They stress too much that they should be saving more. Maybe they should be saving more. If they're saving enough, then they're stressed that they should be saving for something else. And all of a sudden, we should be buying real estate and all this stuff. Well, let's just stop. Everything boils down to a number, right? At the end of the day, you're saving for retirement. You just save for whatever that number is. Calculate it. Do the number. Find somebody. Get them to help you with that. We do that for every one of our customers. You tell me your goals, I tell you the number, right? We go down that path. All right, so if that's the case, if you're saving to build your net worth, let's work it out. Let's figure that part out. If you're going to save for your retirement, there's a few things you're going to want to have on your number. So the first thing you're going to want to need is income. What do you want to make a year? I don't want to see you put, oh, I want $1 million, Dustin. That's what I want. No, I want to see what type of income. Because if you said I want to have $1 million, but then you plan on spending $60,000, $70,000 a year, how does that work? Are you going to be okay? So I want to see an income here. Say like, oh, I'm used to making $70,000 a year. When I retire, I'll take a little pay cut. I'd like to save so that I could spend $65,000 a year in today's dollars throughout the rest of my life. You're also going to pick an age. Let's say you plan to retire at 65. You're going to pick an age that you are going to pass away. It's morbid, I get it, but you have to pick something. Go with 90 years old, go with 88 years old, go with 89 years old, something in there. You can even play with those numbers. The next thing I want you to keep in mind is some level of inflation. Not because you're going to plug it in, but because you're actually going to combat that yearly. So let's say you think inflation is going to be 3% a year. Rather than expand that out through the rest of your life and hope inflation is somewhere around 3%, you're just going to tell yourself, each year I'm going to look up the number. I'm going to Google the number. Yo, Google, hey, what was inflation this year? And you're going to see a number like 2.2, 2.7. Maybe it shoots up for a while there. Right now, it's under 2%. So you're going to want to see that number each year so that you raise your contribution by that amount, right? If you're putting so much away to hit this goal, then the next year you're going to add whatever inflation was. Do not project out into the future. Please don't do it. This makes for a much tighter number. Next, you're going to look for growth. These are really the main things. We'll just stop here. How much do you expect your investments to grow? Do not choose 7%. Okay? Please do not choose 7%. Because if you're going to factor inflation along the way, you might be doing a little bit better. Okay? You also want to look at your investments and see how they're growing, right? Look at your 401k and go, okay, well, the average growth on this thing is whatever the expected growth on this is. Do a little research, right? 5-10 minutes. We can all sit down through a commercial break and go, I have this fund in my 401k. What's its performance history? All right, I'll use that, right? So make sure you have a number that's a reasonable number versus just sort of guessing because you read a book and they said, well, it's 7%. So not true, right? If you're going to factor inflation along the way, you might want to use a higher number. You might want to use a lower number depending on where you're at in your life. So that's it. Number one, be careful if you're choosing the traditional IRA. Make sure it makes sense for you. There's only a handful of times it makes sense for younger people there. Number two, try not to go to a bank. If you're at a bank, look at your returns. Make sure your returns are reasonable relative to your age and your sort of risk profile. What are you shooting for? Number three, don't get overwhelmed by the investments. Just ask around for help. I can't give you specific advice if you're not a customer of ours, just legally. I'm not being mean, I'm not allowed to. But there's plenty of places you may be able to say, hey, a little bit of help. Call the brokerage firm, call the company that you're at, and just say, I know you guys can't tell me what to invest in. Can you give me a list? Give me a list and I'll do some homework, okay? That helps narrow it down. And number four, don't stress too much about saving too much. Stress about figuring out what your goal is, what your number is, and then you can say, oh, I'm actually saving enough. That's perfect. Well, I hope you enjoyed today. Thanks for watching. I hope you hit the subscribe button. That helps us out a little bit somehow. And I hope you'll check us out later. We do the closing beat, live stock market update. We go over kinds of all geeky stuff for you to check out. We'll tell you how the stock market did for the day and maybe your investments as well. Also take your questions there if you like. Have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.